Prime Minister Narendra Modi launched 3 ambitious social security schemes relating to the insurance and pension sector intended at widening the process of financial inclusion. On his first visit to West Bengal after taking over as Prime Minister, he kick-started the Pradhan Mantri Suraksha Bima Yojana, Pradhan Mantri Jeevan Jyoti Yojana and Atal Pension Yojana at a highly attended event. The Jan Suraksha Yojana is expected to reduce the number of zero-balance bank accounts created under the Jan Dhan Yojana. The schemes target the poor and the unorganized sector who are neither covered by any form of insurance nor get any pension whatsoever. Under the accident insurance scheme, a person will be provided cover of rupees 2 lakhs for an annual premium of rupees 12. The cover is for accidental death or permanent total disability. The scheme will be available to people in the age group of 18 to 70 years who hold a savings bank account. The life insurance scheme will offer a renewable 1-year life cover of rupees 2 lakhs to all saving bank account holders in the age group of 18 to 50 years, covering death due to any reason for a premium of rupees 330 per annum per subscriber. So far, so good. So will we actually see the masses opting for these schemes? Let's try and analyze in this 1 hour. Welcome to Insight. I'm Lottie Alaric. To carry this discussion forward, I have in the studio a distinguished panel of guests, and I'm very happy to have with me Dr. P. Pula Rao, who's an economist and the president of Social and Economic Rights Forum. Welcome to the show. Sitting next to him is Mr. Shantanu Guhare, India editor, Central European News. I welcome you too.
Thank you.
And we're also joined by Professor Makhan Lal, distinguished fellow from the Vivekanand International Foundation. I welcome you too, sir. So folks, before we start asking any questions to our panelists here, let's try and take a look at this report.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi launched 3 social security initiatives, including 1 pension and 2 insurance schemes in eastern Kolkata city on Saturday, May 9th. The federal cabinet gave its nod to 3 mega social security initiatives: the Pradhan Mantri Suraksha Bima Yojana or PMSBY, the Pradhan Mantri Jeevan Jyoti Bima Yojana or PMJJBY, and the Atal Pension Yojana on Wednesday, May 6th. Modi said it was very important to make facilities accessible to the poor.
आप कल्पना कर सकते हैं कि देश में गरीबों के लिए बैंकों का राष्ट्रीयकरण किया गया, लेकिन इस देश के गरीब को कभी हमें बैंक में देखने को अवसर नहीं मिला था। आज भी ये जो स्कीम लेकर के हम आए हैं, 80 से 90% इस देश के लोग हैं जिनको कोई इंश्योरेंस नहीं है, जिनको कोई पेंशन की संभावना नहीं है।
Encouraged by the success of the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, the federal government has proposed to work towards creating a universal social security system for all Indians, especially the poor and the underprivileged and workers in the unorganized sector, using the bank accounts as the basis for launching the schemes. Modi spoke about the necessity of including the poor in the development story of the country.
गरीबों को सहारा नहीं चाहिए, हमें हमारी सोच बदलनी होगी, हमारे कार्यकलाप बदलने होंगे, हमारे तौर तरीके बदलने होंगे। गरीबों को सहारा नहीं चाहिए, गरीबों को शक्ति चाहिए।
The 2 insurance schemes would provide insurance cover in the event of death by any cause or death or disability due to an accident. The pension scheme, the Atal Pension Yojana or APY, would address old age income security needs and mitigate life risk. The convenient delivery mechanism of the schemes is expected to address the situation of very low coverage of life and accident insurance and old age income security products in the country. There was simultaneous nationwide launch of the schemes at 112 centers in various Indian states and union territories.
Well, so that was the Prime Minister launching the 3 security schemes for the masses of the country, well, touting it as facilities which will now be accessible to the poor and the underprivileged. And he also said that the poor do not need crutches, they need power. So let's get your ideas here. Let me start with you, Dr. Rao, that what do you really make of this? First of all, the timing of these schemes. Do you think there was some thought behind it?
I think the timing is late. Such a scheme should have been enforced a decade ago. Maybe earlier.
Right.
Because what I like most about the scheme is the Surakshana scheme. We all know about accidents.
Right.
Every day on the Indian road system, 500 people die. And just a small example, the Bombay suburban train services, every day 10 people die. The figure is atrocious.
Atrocious.
3,600 people a day die just on the trains, suburban trains of Bombay. And they're usually very poor people, breadwinners. They leave their home early morning and the body comes back, unclaimed sometimes. So if this single scheme is implemented properly, and it's only 12 rupees premium, so it should be an enforced premium. Either they pay the toll gates or they pay at the railway station, it should be enforced. Now that people have an ID, Aadhaar card or whatever.
Right.
And this will really empower poor people and middle classes. Because they suddenly lose a breadwinner. They can't go to court. They can't get money from courts, from these various consumer forums and accident tribunals. In fact, how to make this system more accessible? Since it's only 12 rupees premium, how to make it universal literally. And this would be one of the best spent monies because you will really have a social security safety net for people who need it most. Those
Absolutely.
who use trains, those who use the highways. I'm just giving an example.
Right.
And I thought the other schemes naturally, they are very necessary. But there could be better tweaks.
We will definitely talk about those in detail, but let me just get an overview from Mr. Guhare here. What do you think? Do you think that this was the time? Was it really, is it a thought out plan that they thought that this is the time to push these schemes in, or do you also believe with him that, okay, this had to be done yesterday?
Well, I personally believe Modi couldn't have done it earlier because he was not in power. He's come in power only last year.
Right.
So whatever he wants to do, he will do it now.
No, I think he meant these kind of schemes should have been done
happened.
earlier.
I think, yes, I think socially relevant schemes are a necessity of a part of an economy.
Correct.
Because there is an old theory, even by free market economics like Friedrich Hayek, who has often said the state should take charge of the poor. The state should take charge of poor from accidents, illness, poor health, job loss and all of that. And Narendra Modi's 3 initiatives, that too in a state of Bengal, in my opinion is kind of very interesting because that's the state which has suffered in the last 4 or 5 years tremendous financial losses, and the poor has suffered because of multiple Ponzi schemes, the farmers have had problems and all kind of issues have been there, and the poor has suffered a lot. I think the timing, I would not question the timing. I would be rather happy with the way the programs have been announced.
All right.
What is my concern? It's not a concern. My only wish is that people from the government, I think the entire cabinet was out on the streets to push this. They should ensure that everybody walks the last mile and ensure the money reaches the poor.
Absolutely. I think that's really important. Would you like to build on what he said very quickly before we go into a break?
Yes, largely I agree with what Dr. Pulla Rao said. It's a bit late in the day, and when I say a bit late, I mean it is decades late.
Decades late.
It should have come immediately after the independence or maybe after initial years. So it has come late, but it's welcome thing. I come from a village. I live in Delhi, it's another matter, but I go every 6 months, 5 months, go back to the village. And I tell you, this scheme is going to really fill in people with lot of hope. And one of the biggest thing that is there are 2 schemes especially. This what you call Jeevan Jyoti Bima Yojana and Suraksha Bima Yojana. That is going to save the life of not the person who is already gone, but rest of the family which is surviving,
That's right.
which gets into tremendous economic problem after the breadwinner is gone.
Absolutely.
And I tell you one more, just a small clarification.
Come back to this.
Just a small clarification. As Pulla Rao ji said, people should pay it at kiosk, at this
Yeah,
place
that's
and
right.
that. No, that has been taken care of. When I read the whole scheme that is here right
Right,
here,
right, right.
it is going to be automatically deducted from your account because the whole scheme is linked to your saving bank account and especially Jan Dhan
Right, right.
bank
right,
account.
right.
So it will be automatically deducted.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for putting all this in perspective, but we are definitely going to talk about all these in detail. But right now, we'll have to slip into a very short break. When we come back, we're going to take this discussion forward. Now, what we would really want to know is that how many people in India actually have saving bank accounts? Now, that is a question that would need to be answered. Now, Dr. Rao, when we look at these schemes on the surface, they all sound and look very wonderful, and I'm sure they may be also. But now the question is, because all of them are related to a savings bank account. So how many people in our country actually, or how many of them can actually afford a savings bank account to avail of these schemes? I think that's a question that we'll all have to look at.
Now they have made that very easy, opening savings banks. There are crores of accounts open, and there's also no deposit necessary. Savings banks can be free of any money.
Right.
Not even
Zero
a rupee.
balance, yeah.
And people are quite smart nowadays. You go to even the most remote tribal villages in Andhra or Karnataka, they are aware the bank is there. Yes, as the Prime Minister pointed out, or Mamata Banerjee pointed out, there are not enough banks. You need more banks, you need more penetration of banks. But that, that's an entirely new thing. As of now, people know that this scheme is there, that they will get this much money, they're ready to pay it. You remember one small issue, just the fact that everybody was getting included in an Aadhaar card. People rushed there, found where they did it, or they paid money to get registered. People are aware, and they will register. And the sum is very attractive, 12 rupees a year.
Exactly.
Which means nothing, but they need to take 12 rupees so that you are registered. You cannot have a registration without a fee. Let it be 1 rupee. So I am excited that, belated as it is, that this is going to fill a need. If we just make a back of the envelope calculation, every day there are 3,000-4,000 people who are dying in accidents or even more. They get 80 crores a day. This is better than Narega because you don't have accounting. You can't fool a death. A death is there certified by the collector or whatever, and you have to pay them. And they're already registered. So there will be no fraud that way. There'll be vast registration. And as you just asked, the bank accounts are already there. Crores of accounts are being opened under the Jan Dhan scheme. And people are aware. It's the media making them aware, it's the neighbors making them aware, and therefore, I believe the scheme has been so structured, it's quite simple. As our friend Professor Makanlal and our colleague here has said, now they take away your money, they deduct it straight away. They don't make it that you go to the bank and
pay.
File it.
Right.
So this will be a very successful scheme if they improve it, tweak it, and as our friends have said, the delivery system is more important than
exactly.
It is necessary. It's a social safety net, and it does alter. There's an amount of fairness in it. No sarpanch, no block development officer can stop you from getting your money. There should be no cut taken. So this looks a scheme which is one of those direct benefit transfer schemes in another form. Where person is getting the money and there's a real tragedy, and society has shown their concern, as Professor Hayek was quoted just now. And I believe these are the kind of schemes, but they're not too complicated also. Schemes, this every day we give you rice, kitchen schemes, those schemes, they end up dissipated. So more of these schemes, simple schemes, cheap schemes, and delivery systems which are simple. Of course, you need a vast banking system for this.
Oh, absolutely.
And that we don't have.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
I think that is going to be one of the biggest challenges, not to have as many banks as now we require.
No, since 1992, RBI, and I may be corrected, has given only 10 or 12 banks, new banks. And even now they are sitting on the bank applications. You need 100 new banks. You set the standards. If they fail, they fail. You close them. You want to open a bank, the minimum qualifications, that we are seriously lacking in this country. And that's for the RBI and the Finance Ministry to attend to this, or all these schemes will end up being dissipated.
Not, absolutely. I think this is where I would want you to come in, Mr. Guhare. That how are we going to, because we've got to have our infrastructure in place. If we don't, then all these schemes are only going to look wonderful on paper.
I think one of the biggest lessons in the Ponzi scam was the fact that the theory of the banks that there are no money in villages was proved completely wrong. The fact that the Ponzi scheme owners could pick up money from the villagers and plow it back to buy diamond mines in Africa, villas in Jordan, and all kind of oil fields in Qatar, it was evident that there was cash. Now what are we talking of? We are talking of a banking system that doesn't exist. I fully agree to that. I think the government is, or the banks are trying to do, by trying to push what they are calling mobile banks. One of the biggest problems of pushing a person to open an account by putting a minimum amount of money, that worry has been taken care by the government.
Correct.
The ministry, the finance ministry and the RBI, the federal bank, has already decided that you don't have to pay money to open an account. It may sound Herculean at this point of time on paper, but I'm very confident that the rush this time won't be from the banks. People will come to the city and small towns and try and open up the account. After all, everybody wants a secured family, a secured life.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, I think if you read up through, let's say, an Amartya Sen or a John Dress, they have time and again say the two key factors of this social inclusiveness or social security net in a country that doesn't have a minimum social guarantee scheme, because almost 79% of its workforce is in the unorganized sector.
Absolutely.
So in a situation like that, what do they need is basically they need promotion and they need protection. I think these schemes will ensure both. And there is, of course, I fully agree to Mr. Rao's fear that we don't have too many banks, but probably I foresee in 6 months' time a reverse trend where people actually will flock to the banks and get their accounts opened. I'm very confident of that. And if that happens, you are fairly squarely home. You don't have a worry. So, but that has to happen. As I said, the point of pushing the people to go to the last mile is of the government and also of the people.
Correct.
Previous schemes would ensure money going to account directly, but this time the government is asking for a token money. It is all not free. The government is saying, give us some token money and I'll insure you. So it's almost like a quid pro quo. I feel this time people will take it much more seriously. So I think it might work.
What about you, Professor Makhanlal? Are you as confident as Mr. Guhare about the banks and people rushing to the banks?
Quite a bit. As I said in the beginning, since I come from village, I am looking at all the three schemes.
Right.
Not as a distinguished fellow at VIF, but as a villager who has some land holding. I can tell you one thing to begin with. In these schemes, all the three schemes, there are phases that have been talked about. By 31st May, you register, pay 12 rupees, pay 330 rupees, you are insured. In the first phase for 1 year, for then again, so it's all recurring. It's not one time your registration that by 31st end it ends and you are out. You continue with that. And in Jan Dhan Yojana, more than 14 crores accounts were opened. Just think of those 14 crores people included in the very first phase by 31st May. That itself will be huge gain in terms of all these schemes launching. And at the same time, I personally feel that a scheme has been well thought out, very neat and clean. Earlier, whatever schemes were made, whether it is midday meal scheme, whether it is work for this foodist for Manrega, all of them tremendous scam.
Absolutely.
One of the best part of this scheme is people are taken care of in a very honest manner. That is what I look at it, and I have no doubt that this is going to be one of the most successful scheme. Yes, you need to have more bank, but as I said, that 14 crores in the very first way by 31st May.
So that shows that
but there is some confusion, let me tell you.
All right.
When
now let's get the confusion.
When I went to bank, well, I am on a big salary bracket, but my banker said that here are two schemes, fill in the form. I said, no, I don't think that I'm entitled because this is for poor and all that.
Right.
So he said, no, scheme sets all Indians. And actually, your own announcement said, all Indians, especially the poor and underprivileged sector, unorganized sector. I personally feel some clarification should come where the people having certain amount of income must not opt for it. And maybe one of the best way would be an appeal, like Prime Minister said, please, if you can afford, don't take the subsidy on cylinders. That kind, this is not there. I mean, that's personally, it's a little worrying to me that if I am asked for to fill in the form, I said, no, I'm not filling. Let me, he said, and most of the colleagues filled.
Right.
And they were thinking that I'm...
Correct. I think
I feel that scheme should be universal.
For everybody.
And the choice should be left to you.
Correct.
Because otherwise, that there itself corruption starts coming, and if you say he can't go in, you get that certificate, you get this certificate. Say the advantage of Obamacare in the US is everybody, if you want it. So there I disagree.
No, that's why I said that there should be appeal, that you renounce this. This is universal scheme, but you can afford it to let it go to the poorer people, so that government is not overburdened.
Dr. Rao, at present 80% of the country's population is still outside the insurance coverage. So do you think that with the announcement of these schemes, now this whole scene stands to be changed?
Absolutely, and government has also given a stimulus to the insurance sector, that's foreign companies will come in and they will have more people to look at, and Indian companies there will be more penetration. But just as we talked about banks, you have to think of out of the box. In the US, and I should be corrected, you have no branch banking. You must go and get a charter for a bank. You're only a single branch, that's all you're allowed.
Right.
So they have thousands and thousands of banks, maybe lakhs of banks, that you set up a bank, one branch, that's all. So you have to think of out of the box here. How to get in, you have a gigantic insurance company, they won't open offices. You have a gigantic bank, they won't go to villages, they'll stick around Delhi or Bombay or small towns.
Right.
So unless you change that structure also, this insurance thing will not go too far. It will become a procedural burden. Therefore, as far as India is concerned, you have to fashion a new setup of insurance companies or allow them, how to penetrate them so that they can franchise it. Otherwise, as you have said, the schemes are there now. And insurance is one way of curtailing social losses in this country, those who are not covered. Now, as it is, insurance is a very difficult proposition. When you need it for health reasons, when you need it.
Right.
So therefore, this is a great opportunity for the insurance sector to grow, and the byproduct of such a scheme will be there will be more employment.
Absolutely.
All these schemes, what I always look for, my colleagues may not agree here, or they may agree, is we have 11 crore unemployed people. Any sector which is going to create jobs. Now such a scheme will give a stimulus to the IT sector also, because all of this is involved with IT and digitalization. So this will also enhance employment opportunities, and it is therefore, if it worked out even 50% efficiency, it's a win-win scheme. I don't expect 100% success, even 50%. It's a win-win scheme, and we Indians, eventually will exploit the best scheme. We take passports now, how people get it despite all the odds. So we look forward to it becoming an employment generation scheme in its own way, and covering all the social security losses, and equalization of risk also in the country. But some people are better covered, the poor have no cover.
Correct.
Poor worry about it. So the happiness index may go up.
Well, whether the happiness index will go up or not, probably only time will tell. But right now we need to slip into yet another break, but we are coming back very quickly, so do stay tuned.